Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Charles. I want to welcome you guys to another episode of the Dreamerspro Podcast. And in today's episode, I'm just going to be covering the Clippers versus Mavericks game, and I'm going to be talking a little bit about the Portland Trail Blazers and the Denver Nuggets game that happened last night. But before we get into that, I want you guys to make sure you go ahead and hit the like button and hit the subscribe button. And because we're trying to get to 10,000 subscribers, and make sure you hit the notification bell to be notified whenever we drop our content. Once again, if you guys don't know, you can access this content on the podcast. We have it on Spotify and iTunes, so we've linked that in the description below. So you guys can definitely check that out, because I know some people like to listen to podcasts while they run or do other things or cook or whatever it is. So that is definitely available for you guys, and let us know if you have any issues listening to the podcast. So let's just get straight into it. So I watched the game between the Clippers and the Mavs last night, because it was one of the games that came out a little bit earlier for me. So I was like, okay, I can watch that, but I couldn't watch all the other games as much as I would have liked to. Now, going into this game, this was a potential Western Conference first round matchup between the Clippers and the Dallas Mavericks. If you look at the NBA standings, if you look at the standings in the Western Conference, you still have the Lakers at the number one spot, who closed out the number one seed a few days ago. Then you have the Clippers at the number 2 seed, Nuggets at the number 3, Rockets at the number 4. Then you have the Utah Jazz at the number 5. Then you have the Oklahoma City Thunder, who came off an impressive win against the Lakers, at the number 6 spot. Then you have the Dallas Mavericks at the number 7 spot. Then you have the Memphis Grizzlies and the Portland Trail Blazers, who I'm going to get to in just a moment. But let's talk about yesterday's game. Now, the Clippers have been up and down. They won some games, dropped some games, won some games, dropped some games. The last game they played, excuse the noise in the background, a lot of trucks going by. The last game that they played against the Phoenix Suns, they dropped that game in a thriller. And we did a video about that, and I gave you my thoughts and opinions on that. I said that the Phoenix Suns definitely deserved to win that game, because they played their butts off. They worked, they played hard all game long. And Devin Booker hit a very, very tough shot, with contested defense. And it's a shot that I've seen him hit. He's hit, many game winners before. So it's not something new to him. And he's a clutch performer. So, sometimes they come up big, just like Kawhi comes up big at times, and LeBron and others. So sometimes that happens. And I made sure that I didn't overreact to that. I wasn't going to say all of a sudden now the Clippers aren't going to make it in the playoffs and all that. I'm not one of those type of sports analysts. I don't like doing that. That's what you call an overreaction. So I don't like to do that. But watching that game yesterday, the first big news for Clippers fans is that Montrezl Harrell will be making a return. Okay, he'll be making a return sometime next week, and I think he's probably going to get 2 games under his belt before the playoffs resume. As you all know, he was away because he had to deal with a personal family issue with his grandmother passing. So he wasn't able to perform, and some people grieve differently. I remember when my grandmother passed a year, not too long ago, I grieved, but I was able to sort of get back into my stride within a day or two. So people grieve differently, and, he's just been away, and maybe, he's an integral part in his family. I'm sure he's probably the wealthiest person in that family. So maybe he had to take care of a lot of things, maybe funeral expense and all that. So I totally understand that. Now, looking at the game in the first quarter, okay, first thing I got to say, man, Kristaps Porzingis was a monster in that first quarter. And I saw that the Dallas Mavericks really made a concerted effort to run their offense through him, and which is wise. Why? Because he's a unicorn, as we all call him, but he's the one matchup that no team in the NBA has. Nobody can guard Kristaps. Nobody can guard Kristaps Porzingis. He is one of the most unique basketball players I've ever seen. He's like 7 foot tall. He can shoot the three. He can run the floor very quickly. He can pass. He can dunk. He can shoot. The guy can, he's like a Swiss Army knife, but he's very skilled. He's very aggressive, actually. He plays like an American player. American players are very, very aggressive. Sometimes, European players can be a little bit finesse, like Pau Gasol and Manu Ginobili, although Manu Ginobili is tough as nails. And Tony Parker is also tough. But his game, he plays like, he grew up playing ball in the park somewhere in probably Chicago or New York or Brooklyn or whatever it is. He's really tough minded. You look at him out there. He's not smiling. He's all about business, and I like that a lot about him. So he was a monster. Now, Paul George, on the other hand, for the Clippers, he was steady in the first half because he had a very balanced attack. It seemed like he made a decision that he wanted to attack the basket in this game. If you look at him in prior games throughout this NBA bubble, he's been very dangerous from the three-point line. That's been where he's been doing a lot of his damage from the perimeter. But in this game, he was attacking the basket a lot. You would see him catch the ball and make a quick decision, going to the basket, attacking, and putting a lot of pressure on the bigs of the Dallas Mavericks. And I think it was refreshing because he was showing us that, he can play another way. He can play with his head down, going to the basket, going downhill. And he was putting the other team in foul trouble. He was, for him doing that, he was also able to collapse the defense and get the open shooters. So it was nice to see he was very balanced. I thought he played a very steady game. But I thought it was a great first round preview watching these two teams in the first quarter. It was very competitive, actually, the first quarter. It was very, very competitive first quarter. Now, something I want to say about Luka Doncic, something that I noticed. I haven't watched him much this season, but I watched him this game. Luka Doncic is very, very good. I mean, very, very good at controlling the tempo of a game and facilitating. If you watch him, he always seems to be under control. He always seems to know where he wants to go on the court. Every decision he makes when he's playmaking, he always looks like he knows exactly what he wants to do. You rarely see him leave his feet without knowing where he wants the ball to go. It's either he wants to shoot or he wants to pass the ball. I think he's very good at controlling the tempo of a game. And I saw, why there's all this hype around him, because the dude is a baller, man. He is a flat out baller, and he looked really good. Now, granted, I think that he got taken advantage of quite a few times on defense. I saw Lou Williams scoring him. I saw Kawhi Leonard scoring him. I saw other players scoring him. But overall, looking at his offensive game and his playmaking and the way he controls the floor, I mean, he's their playmaker on that team. He's amazing, man. He's amazing. And a few days ago, I think he dropped a 34-20 rebound and 8 assist game. So this kid is on another level for a second-year player, for a sophomore player, really. I mean, he's unbelievable. Now, Kawhi Leonard looked very aggressive, which I loved. I think Kawhi is at his best when he's being aggressive, when he's being decisive. And when he does that, he puts a lot of pressure on the defense. That's what I noticed. I mean, I have all my notes in front of me here, so I'm not just speaking randomly. I also noticed that the Dallas Mavericks, they ran a lot of dribble penetration, and I'm surprised at how much NBA players bite off of pump fakes. It looks like it's a pump fake league, and that's the reason why you see so many travels being called. They swing the ball, somebody catches the ball, and they pump fake, and they go. It's amazing how many players go for the pump fake. A lot of them are not disciplined, and Stan Van Gundy pointed that out throughout the game, that a lot of players just bite on these pump fakes, man. Especially with these three-point attempts. You see a guy, he pumps fakes, he doesn't, his feet never leave the floor, and you jump up in the air. So he said a good point about players being more, let's say, principled and disciplined defensively to make sure they don't bite on these pump fakes. I think this is how most of these teams get their bread and butter in scoring. They just pump fake, dribble penetrate, pass, swing the ball, collapse the defense, and that's pretty much how they score. And I think that's how a lot of teams score, to be honest with you. And they just swing the ball around and look for the open three-point shooter. Now, some people like it. For me, I think it's a chuckathon, chucking up threes so much. So I don't necessarily like that. And I think the mid-range game is beautiful, and it hides a lot of players' deficiency to be able to actually ball and hit a mid-range shot. If you can hit a pull-up jump shot, you're a baller. Like C.J. McCollum, Damian Lillard, Carmelo Anthony, Kawhi Leonard, Kevin Durant, Devin Booker, Jason Tatum, all of these guys are ballers because they can beat you from anywhere. And that's one of the things I noticed when they were looking at Kawhi, and Stan Van Gundy was just like, you can't game plan for this dude. You just can't, because he's good at everything. It's not like as if he's good at 2 things or 3 things that you can sort of neutralize him on. He's good at everything. And I think that, that's what makes him a major threat for the Clippers. Now, when the starters went to the bench for the Clippers, the bench gave them some really good minutes. I was surprised to see Landry Shamet start the game. He started the game, he missed some threes, but then he got it going later. He started attacking the basket. He got some shots going to the rim. Then he hit a 3-point. He hit a shot on the. I think he hit a 3-pointer in the second quarter or in the second half. So that was a good sign. I thought Marcus Morris played a fantastic all-around game. I was really impressed with him on defense. He seemed to be very locked in. He was concentrated. I think he got you 13 points. But the thing I was most impressed with was his overall game that he played all throughout the game. He was very good on defense. I think he made the right plays. You saw him diving for loose balls. So I was really impressed with him. And I think that a lot of times when you watch Marcus Morris play senior, he gets into this thing where I think he feels like he has to score a lot, but the Clippers have so much offense, it's not even funny. They're the deepest team in the NBA by far. It's not even close. And when you see one of their main players go out and just say, you know what, man, I'm just going to play great winning basketball, I think it really helped them. Although it was a very competitive game for 4.5 quarters. Now, in the second half, the Clippers were a different team when Kawhi Leonard was aggressive. He became aggressive in that third quarter, and he was either attacking or making plays for his teammates. And again, that's when he's at his best. I think if I look at his stat line for the game, if I look at how many points Kawhi Leonard scored for the game, he scored 29 points, 5 assists, and 6 rebounds. So that was a balanced attack. Marcus Morris, got you 16 points, 1 assist, and 5 rebounds. Zubac was fantastic. He got you 21 points and 15 rebounds, so he was great. He even played much of the fourth quarter. Paul George was amazing because he had a balanced attack. He got you 24 points, 6 assists, 7 rebounds. So you can see by those numbers, it was a really balanced attack. John Michael Green was really good coming off the bench. This dude plays great defense, and he can hit shots. And I like his competitive fervor that he plays with, man. The dude is really, really good. If you look at the Dallas Mavericks, Kristaps Porzingis got you 30 points, 5 rebounds, and 5 assists and 9 rebounds. But if you watched him play, this dude was unguardable, man. There was nothing they could do with him, man. I mean, he could post you up. He can do pretty much anything. So if he continues to develop and and he really gets his legs under him and they play a lot of years together, I think they're going to be scary with the Dallas Mavericks and Luka Doncic there. At least the tandem that they have there in Texas. Luka Doncic got you 29 points, 6 assists, and 3 rebounds, but a lot of those threes came like with him hitting these long-range three-pointers, and I was really, really impressed at how this guy creates space off the dribble with his step-back three-pointer. I saw him a few times dribble, pull back, pull the ball back, and pull the ball back past the three-point line and step back, and this guy was like 2 feet away from the three-point line and chuck up a three. I was like, wow. I couldn't believe the amount of spacing he was able to create with that. But the Dallas Mavericks had a balanced scoring night. They had about 5 players in double figures. But the Clippers played really really well. They shot 54% from the field overall, as opposed to the Dallas Mavericks, who shot 44%. They shot 45% from the three. To the Dallas Mavericks, who shot 35%. They did a good job guarding the three, although 35% is still a bit high for a team to shoot from the three-point line. So I think that's something that they definitely need to work on. But Paul George and Kawhi Leonard were fantastic in that third quarter with their attacking and their passing and their playmaking and their defense. But in the fourth quarter, it was a very competitive game, though, all the way up to the 6-minute mark. And then after that, the game just started falling apart because the Clippers, they started having really great ball movement in that fourth quarter. And I was really impressed with their concentration with 4 minutes to go. And in the end, I think they showed you the difference between them and other teams, which is their depth. Their depth is what really came through because they just had so many offensive weapons with Reggie Jackson and Landry Shamet and others and all these guys coming off the bench, and Patrick Patterson, who played fantastic, by the way. You just saw that there was just too much. And John Michael Green and Kawhi and Marcus Morris and Paul George. I think they're and Lou Williams. I mean, you can keep going on and on. I think they really showed the difference between them and other teams, and I think they showed their depth. So for me, it was a very good win for the Clippers. Another thing I've noticed is that Kawhi Leonard has been playing all these games, so I guess people like Nick Wright can't talk about his load management. The dude has been playing all his games, right? So I wonder what that says for people out there that like to make that argument. But I was impressed with that win, and I think it was a good win for them. I'll be looking forward to see what Montrezl Harrell does when he gets back into the lineup. So you guys let me know what your thoughts and opinions are on that game and what you guys thought about that and some of the things you noticed throughout that game. So let me know what you thought about that. And quickly, to just sort of close up the podcast here so I don't stay for too long, let's just touch a little bit on the Portland Trail Blazers and Denver Nuggets game. As I said, the Portland Trail Blazers are playing for that number 8 seed. And if you look at the Western Conference standing in the bottom of the standings, it's really between the Suns, the Trail Blazers, and the Memphis Grizzlies. I think the Spurs are out of it, and I definitely think the Pelicans are now, I don't even know where the hell the Pelicans are. I'm not even seeing them right here in the stand. Okay, the Pelicans are number 13. So they've completely fallen back. Now, they have 39 losses to the Blazers 39, but they've dropped. They need to win some games. They only have 29 wins, and the Blazers have 32. So they would have to remain perfect and keep winning. I don't think that many games. So the Portland Trail Blazers need every single win that they can, but there can also be some movement between the 5, 4, and 3 seeds in the Western Conference, depending how these last few games are played. But looking in that game, man, Damian Lillard just went off, man. I mean, he showed you why. He's Dame time, and he scored 45 points, 12 assists, and 12 assists and 4 rebounds. There's nothing you can do with this dude, man. And this is why I said, whatever team that draws the Portland Trail Blazers in the first round, you don't want to see this team. You don't. If they meet the Lakers, I think the Lakers don't want to see this team. Why? Not because LeBron James is afraid of them or Anthony Davis is afraid of them. We're talking about matchups. Who's going to guard these players? And yes, some people make some good points. Who's going to guard LeBron and AD? But you also got to guard the other side of the ball. And when you have somebody like this that can go for 45 or 60 points on any given night, man, that's a legitimate threat. In any game, in any type of scenario, that is a legitimate threat. And the Portland Trail Blazers stayed alive, man. They kept their playoff hopes alive. They won the game. Michael Porter Jr. for the Denver Nuggets played a good game. He got you 27 points. Jeremy Grant got you 18 points. Monte Morris got you 11. Torrey Craig got you 13. Mason Plumlee got you 13, but they still lost that game. But I think they're already going to be where they are between either the 3 or 4 or 5 seed, the Denver Nuggets. But for the Portland Trail Blazers, which is a more interesting story, trying to get to that number 8 seed, I think it was a fantastic win for them to keep their playoff hopes alive. So these are all of my thoughts and opinions on games from last night. What I want to know from you guys is, what did you think about these 2 games that I covered? Let me know your thoughts and opinion on anything that I covered. If you enjoyed the video, make sure you go ahead and hit the like button and hit the subscribe button, because remember, guys, we're trying to get to 10,000 subscribers, and hit the notification bell to be notified whenever we drop our content. Once again, this is Charles here from Dreamerspro, wishing you guys an amazing day. Peace.